What's going on YouTube? I have a trailer now, but that's not what this video is about. I am going to be doing Mustang Steve disc brakes on my 1967 Mustang. Stick around. So if you are new to the channel, I actually make aircraft content. I often say that I'm your favorite AMPIA and Part 147 instructor. I make a lot of videos about becoming an aircraft mechanic. Let me spin around job opportunities, things of that nature. But I've also got this nice little project car, the 67 Mustang that I've owned for 14 years. I'm gonna stop yapping. This here is a Mustang Steve bracket kit, and this is the best thing about having crappy paint. You can just lay things on top of the fender and it doesn't really hurt my heart. Anyways, this is a Mustang Steve bracket kit to install 2007 to 2010 GT. I think it is. It's the third or S197 generation. I forget. It doesn't matter. It's my favorite looking Mustang besides the 67 in my opinion. I've got calipers, discs, pads, and brake lines, and basically all of the parts off of a 2007 GT Mustang or 2007-2008 GT Mustang to go onto my 1967, and I will have disc brakes. The only thing that I have that isn't stock for 2008 is a Wilwood proportioning valve, and then of course the Mustang Steve bracket kit. So I'm not going to waste your time pulling off the front wheels and the front brakes and any of that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just get them off and show you the installation. There's 1,000,001 videos of people removing the front brakes off of 67, 66, 68 Mustangs. So I'm not going to show you that. It does have 9-inch drum brakes off of a Boss 302, I think. We did that when we did the V8 swap in it. This was originally an 0206 car with 4-lug suspension, so we did a full 5-lug swap. I just finished a T5 swap in it a couple videos ago, so it has a 5-speed transmission in it now. All good stuff. So like I said, I'm going to get this off, and when this is off, I will get right back with you. Side note, while I'm working on this, unrelated to the brakes, if you want to put 2007, 2008 GT wheels on your 67 like I did, the 17-inch 5-spokes, you're gonna need to get an 1.5-inch hub-centric wheel spacer, and you're gonna need to get longer wheel studs for your hub. Just keep that in mind. As promised, I've kind of got this on here but loose. I'm just gonna show you. The other side is a mirror image. Mustang Steve supplies all the bolts with this. So you're going to use 3 long bolts and 1 short bolt, or sorry, 3 short bolts and 1 long bolt, because 1 bolt goes all the way through the hub knuckle. Anyways, besides the point, that's this. I'm going to go ahead and get this tightened on. I've got my old wheel hub off. This is the disc centering ring. I need to get longer wheel studs for it. I've needed to do that anyways because I had spacers, but I do need to get longer wheel studs for this to make up for the difference. So I'm going to get this tight, and then this piece goes actually back here. Depending on what's the word I'm looking for, depending on what caliper you have, you're going to either need that spacer or not need that spacer, and I think that's why he supplies some shorter bolts and some longer bolts, because those go here, and then you use everything else is factory GT stuff. So this is on. Once this is all together, the hub just goes back exactly where it was. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera and record at the same time. The hub just goes back where it was, so that's easy enough. Moving right along, I got the caliper mounting bracket on. Now, it's a mirror image on the other side, so this is the brackets for the other side. You get the caliper bracket, and you get a little spacer in there. The orientation of those matters. According to Mustang Steve's instructions, this is 45 foot-pounds. I got to figure out what these are. Then the hub will go, on here like this with a hub with a brake centering ring. This is supposed to be pressed on. I will say it's going to be a lot more enjoyable to do all this if you have a 20-ton jack press. I don't. I'm kind of doing all of this with an air hammer. So yes, it is possible, but you need to be very, very careful if you're doing it my way. Message to Mustang Steve. This is a really high quality kit. You know, I got to support a fellow Texan and what he's doing out there. I used his clutch cable kit for my T5 swap as well, and that was really, really easy. But Mustang Steve, the only thing I would suggest on your website is, and maybe I'm just silly and didn't see it when I ordered it, I powder coated these black with my Eastwood powder coating hot coat system. But Mustang Steve, if you offered these powder coated, even though I have powder coating equipment, I probably would have paid extra to get them pre-powder coated. But other than that, like these parts are really solid. So I'm going to continue right along. The only other deviation I'm going to do from his instructions, Follow the Builds is a guy who does a lot of fastback conversions, and he did a Mustang Steve brake kit on his fastback, and he shared a couple of fittings right here that you can get on Amazon to go from the standard fitting up to the metric fitting that the stock GT brakes are. So I'm going to change that. Rather than reflaring this per Mustang Steve's instructions, I'm going to use the adapter fitting and then bleed everything. I've got the drum just sort of laying over here out of the way. I don't want to mess with any of that until I'm ready for brake fluid and ready to bleed. So I'm going to get all of this assembled. Make sure there's no more parts I need, because I'm already going to have to run to the parts store for some wheel studs and some other things. But I'm going to get this back together. I'll get all this torqued. Like I said, this is pretty much the extent of the bracketry, and then this goes on the hub and it goes back together and the brake goes on. So I'll get all that back on and I will catch up with you. Please understand, it was several days ago when I recorded that on Saturday. It is now Monday. Anyways, this hub is too thick to fit inside of the new brake rotor, which is just over here off of camera. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Walmart grinder that I just got, and I'm going to try to grind as much of this lip off as I can until the brake disc slides all the way down and sits flush. I still need to press the studs in too. I just sort of tapped them in with a rivet hammer, but I did have to get longer studs to make this work. So I'm going to grind this down, and then I'll get the brake, what's that called? The brake rotor, the brake disc on. Fortunately for me, because I run spacers, I can put the spacers on to sort of clamp it down while I put the caliper on. So I'll do that. That took way too long. I was grinding on that for like 2 hours. But now I've got the disc, and push it on here. There you go. There is a centering ring that you have to press on here or drive into place to center the brake disc. Again, Mustang Steve sells that with the whole kit. So I'm gonna get all this wiped down with brake cleaner. I'm gonna get the spacer on it to hold some pressure here. And then I've got the caliper. He does send some caliper bolts for you. I've got the pads, I've got the brake lines. I'm gonna get everything assembled here, and then I'll get back with you and show you exactly what it looks like. Look at that. The brake spins as a brake should. The caliper's on. I have the new line. This is a line for just a 2007, 2008 Mustang. The problem is I don't have a banjo bolt, so I'll have to go down to O'Reilly's or Advanced and see if they have a banjo bolt for it. But this just goes on back here. I'm gonna probably route it along the strut. Those are the fittings I was talking about. This fitting will take the original the original standard fitting, and it converts it to the metric fitting that you need for these brake lines. Like I said, I got this off Amazon. I'll put a link down below for that. The caliper was really easy. You know, it's just assemble it like you would any 2005 to 2010, I think it was, Mustang. And then Mustang Steve supplied some caliper bolts. These are not tight yet. I'm gonna go ahead and stick the wheel on here real fast and make sure that everything clears. It should, because those are 2008 GT wheels. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick the wheel back on here, make sure everything clears. Take a picture of it, probably post it on my Instagram. I haven't decided yet. But anyways, if I have time, I'll bleed the brakes and I'll show you what it looks like all assembled. Again, I still gotta torque all of this. I need to repack the bearings in the hub. I haven't done that yet. I'm just fitting everything. I'm probably not gonna show that. So I gotta be honest, I really wasn't worried about it. In an original 08 GT, 07 GT, this would be all the way up against the brake disc. Like, it would be touching it, and the caliper would be pretty much right here inside the spoke. But I've got plenty of room there. I'll see if I can speak really loud. I used to have clearances issues up in here at this ball joint, and it's still really tight, but I can put a finger in there. I don't know if you can see that or not. But that used to barely clear. I had 1.25" spacers. I went up to 1.5". That solved a lot of it. And now there's about 1/8 of an inch extra on the brake disc thickness over the drum, so that solves that. So this side is looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and take the caliper back off, get the hub back out of it, grease and pack the bearings with some aircraft grease, because why not? I'll torque all that down, cotter pin it, safety it, because that's all finished. And then I'll have to order a banjo bolt, but I'll set it back down on this side so I can start working on the other side. The other side is just gonna be a repeat, so I'm not gonna film any of that. Okay, this is like the third or fourth take. I don't normally do this. My GoPro died trying to film the first take, and now I'm filming it on the iPad. But this is about the brake line fittings and very important, but I wanna show you. I was trying to put an Intellitronics speedometer in it. I've almost got that all finished up, but CJ Pony Parts lied to me and told me that the original 96 T5 sensor would work, but it doesn't because it's a 2-wire sensor and you need a 3-wire sensor for the Intellitronic system. So I've emailed Intellitronics, but I haven't heard back. Now this is about the brake fittings. So I'm gonna try to film up in here. Again, I'm using the iPad for this last little part, so I'm sorry for that. But this fitting right here in the center of camera comes out of the brake line. And I ordered the 10mm to 3/16 adapter that Follow the Builds had shared on his YouTube channel when he was doing this. But I noticed there was a second fitting in there and he didn't really say what it was. So I did some more researching and looking. And what I ended up having to do is my brake lines in my 67 are originally 1/4-inch fittings. So I had to do a 1/4-inch to a 3/16 reducer. I ended up buying that at Advanced. I'll see if I can share a link to that, but I bought 4 of those. And then I bought a male-to-male union, which I had to custom order off of Amazon because you can't see it and I'm not gonna climb underneath the car. Just for now, I stuck my Wilwood proportioning valve in the back. But in order to get all that to work, I had to take the 1/4-inch brake lines that are in my car and adapt them down to 3/16. So if you are doing this kit, or if you're doing any aftermarket brake kit in your 67, 68, 66, all your Mustangs are a little different depending on what brake lines they have. Mine are 1/4-inch. You might have to get some reducers. And honestly, hunting those down was the most difficult thing. Even the caliper banjo bolts, I ordered the caliper banjo bolts like twice, went up to Advanced and ordered them and got the wrong ones. So I ended up having to go to Napa, and it turns out it's an M10 by 1.5 thread for the caliper banjo bolt. And I said it's an M10 by, I think, 1 for the brake line fitting to all the 3/16. It's just a pain, but I will try to share links to all of that down below. I might not have them on the video today, but I'll probably add them to the description tomorrow when I'm at work in front of my computer. So I know I'm zoomed in. I'm filming on the iPad. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And as always, go build something and be easy.